Hey everyone, hopefully you're having a good day. My name's Andy. My channel is Finding Value. Today we're going to do our daily technical analysis update of commodities. We're going to dive in here, look at the dollar, yields, precious metals, and then a lot of the commodities that I follow. If you guys need help with commodities and how to navigate this market, definitely look at finding-value.com, the platinum membership. Use the word discount in the coupon code. Get yourself a discount. We've got a lot of really good opportunities ahead of us right now. I'm going to go over those opportunities of the sectors. The website is what's going to get you the individual companies and the vehicles to potentially, whatever ones you select, it's just the stuff that I'm doing to play this market. So let's dive in here. Let's take a look. I'll give you my financial opinion here. So this is the dollar. We were in this uptrend channel, and we've basically put in the Batman top. This is the Batman top. There's little eyes right there. You can see the Batman. See the Batman there? That is Batman. And Batman puts in the top. We're heading lower. Now, we did break out of this falling wedge. It's a smaller falling wedge. This was the attempt for the break. And it's a failed attempt. It looks like it reversed lower here, and we could continue lower. Usually, this is a really ugly looking pattern. I don't like playing anything like this. Maybe it's a kind of an A, B, C correction, kind of a weird looking correction. Usually they kind of come up like that and then they go down. But right now, the dollar is in this downtrend. It looks like it's trying to consolidate. But in all honesty, guys, I don't know if this really matters. This is mainly just an index that is telling relative strength. It doesn't mean it has absolute strength. Basically, we are measuring currencies against each other that are in free fall. You've got four currencies. They jump out of an airplane, and they're all skydiving lower. And we're just measuring the relative value against those people who have jumped out of the airplane. And that's what these currencies are. They're all going down, but the dollar's just going down a little bit less than some of the other ones, at least in this time frame here. But now it's going down against the other ones. And all that means is that the monetary strength of other currencies, their monetary tightness and interest rates and all of that is stronger than ours, and that's why it's going down in the short term. The 10-year yield up a little bit. It's just bouncing around. This is more or less just a measurement. Interest rates or yields chase inflation around. And right now, I think they're confused. They're like, do we go higher? Do we go lower? They're just kind of consolidating sideways right now. Could this be kind of a flag pattern where this thing breaks to the upside? It very well could be. That's what we're kind of waiting and seeing, trying to determine where our rate's going to go. But in all honesty, guys, the leading indicator is really oil. Oil moves first, and then it seems to work its way through the consumer price index, which is inflation, and then it comes back to the 10-year yields. I do think that we're going to see a compression in inflation based off of the base effects of earlier quarters year over year. And then I think it's going to accelerate again at some point in the future. That's kind of my take on inflation. And I think yields are just going to follow. Now, this is bond prices. Prices go down when yields go up. You can see that this is definitely lower, is the general overall trend. And this does not look like it's putting in some sort of bottom. It actually looks like it's putting in some sort of consolidation period where it could actually head lower in the future. And then we've got TYX, which is also heading higher today, 0.66%. The yield curve between the 10-year and the 30-year was basically flat. And I'll show you that next. But this is the 30-year. It just looks like it's consolidating to some extent. We do have a high here and a lower high, but we also have a low and a higher low. So is this some sort of consolidation pattern that we are starting to describe out? Is it some sort of, like pattern that, flag pattern? We'll have to see. It's still scribing it out. But if we see this guy start to move higher, I would expect higher yields in the future. But we don't have that yet. And then the relative, the 30-year versus the 10-year. And when I look at this, kind of back out, generally speaking, I'll just say in general, the curve is inverted up here, inverted up here. It's usually inverted here, and then I have it backwards. Inverted down here, inverted down here. It's inverted when it's down there. This is uninverted up at the top. So this thing cycles back and forth, but that does not mean, since we're inverted, that we can't, stay inverted for a while. This is kind of what I think is going to happen, is we stay inverted for a little while, and we move sideways or maybe even lower, which is a possibility. But that is speculation there. But generally speaking, gold, silver do very well when this is inverted and it uninverts. Looking at the CRB index. So we're breaking to the upside here. It's looking really good for commodities to continue higher. We've got a consolidation flag pattern, and it's going to break to the upside, which is looking fantastic. The CRB to S&P 500, we're right down at that support level, and it's acting as support right now. Gold slightly lower. We had higher yields and a flat dollar, but this still looks ultra bullish, guys. What this is a bloody nose. So this is a bloody nose here. We have another small down continuation day today. It's not a large selling pressure day. Not a lot of selling pressure. I would be looking for gold to continue higher in the short term. It's going to keep grinding higher. Silver, we sold off today. We're back within that pattern. Maybe we've got a little bit more to go before we break out of it. But we're back within the pattern for silver. And then platinum's getting a little bit more of a sell-off. It is doing a full retest perhaps, and that's at 1032 for the full retest if it wants to get down there. And what I want to see is I want to see this selling pressure subside. I want to see it kind of slow down here. But that's platinum there. And big picture view, though, platinum looks fantastic from a big picture view. Broken out, retest, and then we're going to see eventually a grind higher, I think. XEU to gold ratio down a little bit today. We're down 2.7%, so the gold and silver miners selling off a little bit today, more so than the underlying precious metals themselves. But we could be doing a retest. We'll see. We've broken out of this support resistance line there, and I think we can move around a little bit. But our eyes are set at this line here if we can break that line, that's our line for happiness. Need to break this line for happiness, and it's going to break it at some point eventually. It's going to take some time. And so GDX was down today. It's not a reversal candlestick here. It's just a down day, so everything still looks good. SILJ, also a down day. It's not a reversal candlestick. Still looks okay. Everything's holding together. Crude oil up 1.5%. We are breaking out of this falling wedge. And big picture view, guys, that's where I like it. This here is wave 1, I think. This is your consolidation, and then wave 3 comes. Wave 3 is going to be a big boy. Let's throw a trend-based fib extension on it. I'll take it from the bottom up. And if we get a pretty big run out of this thing, maybe we go to $250 a barrel, maybe even $360 a barrel. That's what I think it might be coming. I'm not putting a time frame on it. It could take a couple of years. But as we break out of this, I think that we're going to see a move higher. And we basically completed our first wave, and now we just completed the second wave, perhaps. Natural gas is trying to put in a bottom. Be patient. It's going to take some time. We have a lot of downside momentum here. It's probably going to bounce around for a little bit before a move higher in natural gas. But natural gas, we're going to have positive things happening this year. Freeport coming back online. I do think that, we've had warm weather over in Europe. That's not helping Henry Hub as well. And we've had warm weather here as well. But it'll take a little bit of time. It'll bounce around. I think we'll eventually work our way higher for natural gas. XOP, yeah, you know me, up 0.5%. We've broken the downtrend line. We've been just kind of grinding on higher. Big picture view, though, I think this still looks fantastic. And if you were to do this on logarithmic, what I think is happening is we've got a shoulder, head, and then we've got another shoulder that's grinding out, and we'll eventually break and make way higher highs. I've got a lot of ideas around investing in these oil and gas exploration companies on the website. A lot of really good companies that potentially can work very well in an environment of increasing oil prices and natural gas prices. OIH is another area that I like a lot. This is the Energy Service Companies, ETF. You could draw this across. We're breaking to the upside. It's looking fantastic on all time frames. And OIH looks fantastic against XOP on a ratio perspective as well. So I think this is going to go vastly higher to the upside for energy service companies. And this is really where there's a lot of opportunity. And I dig down into the companies. We've talked about a lot of companies this past Sunday when we had our Platinum question and answer session. And obviously, you guys who are members know my favorites. Sprott Physical Uranium Trust, it is heading down lower today a little bit. We've got these bearish engulfing here. We got another little bearish engulfing here. The sellers haven't whomped us, but we are getting some selling pressure here in the short term. So we'll see if the sellers are going to come out of the woodworks and sell this thing off. Now, looking at it from this perspective, I still think it looks really good from a weekly candlestick perspective. I still think that this can go higher. We just need the buyers to come in and say, hey, look, we're here. A lot of the individual companies in uranium look fantastic. So we're getting that split. We get a little bit of selling pressure in some of the companies. We're getting some really good setups in other companies. I think we might have a little bit more time before we just rocket higher, but those buyers can come in. They can step in at any second. So that's what I'm waiting for. And URNM looks very good. We have a small little down day on the weekly there, which looks fantastic. And right now we're just consolidating. Basically, we're kind of at this period where we're kind of stuck, moving sideways. Maybe it's a sideways flag pattern. Anyway, I think we're going to work our way higher. We entered this with good, strong force coming from the downside up, and now we're just consolidating. And then I think we'll eventually we'll head on higher. But I will say this: your time to buy is going to close soon because this thing moves so fast. So I'd be looking at the uranium companies right now and looking at your favorite companies. And what I'm doing is I'm positioning. You can do what you want, but I'm positioning in a lot of these companies. Looking at TAN up 0.67%. We've talked about this one before and how this thing is mirrored. We're right at that resistance line. And basically, I think this is going to break and moonshot at some point for Invesco Solar. This side here looks like this side here. That's that reverse symmetry. So basically, if you were to flip that over here, that's what it looks like. And look at how it fell. That is kind of what I expect could potentially move on higher. That's a symmetrical pattern of me drawn all over. Copper heading down a little bit, 2.34%. This thing's had a monster run from the bottom, 28 all the way to 41. So it's okay if this thing consolidates for a while, kind of like this, or if we kind of pull back. We've had a pretty big run here. And a lot of the times, the way that this thing goes up is the same that it fell. So, notice that we consolidated through here. And then if you kind of reverse that over, we came on up, we got stuck kind of at this bottom portion there. We came on up and we may pull back a little bit, much like this side over here. So something very similar, but it's looking real good and everything's looking okay. It's not a reversal candlestick. Looking at lithium, we're right on that support level and it looks good. It looks all right. Would I be jumping in here? No, I'd like to see some more buying pressure. I'd like to see this thing kind of, I'll say, calm down for a little bit, get some sideways grindage. But yeah, it's looking better. Rare earth metals is also grinding sideways right above support. And again, this side over here, we paused there. We're getting a little bit of a pause over here, a little bit longer than the left-hand side, but a lot of the times it does mirror. We're getting a little bit of buying pressure this last month. Weekly candlesticks, you can see we're getting a little bit of buying pressure, but we still have some selling pressure in this remaining. The S&P 500, where is this thing going to go? Because it seems like we just amplify whatever the overall markets are doing. We have a small little bloody nose today. That generally means that we head higher. So that's a continuation pattern to the upside. We're right on that resistance line. And we could gap here. We could really start to move if it decides to take off. The buyers want to come in and push it higher. So that's the S&P 500. We'll see what interest rates do. If interest rates go down, I think the S&P has a chance of moving higher. I'll say the same thing about the NASDAQ. We're at the same exact situation. I call it a little bloody nose or a small little day. And then I think we're going to take off to the upside. EEM. EEM is also looking quite good. Broken down trend, looking fantastic to continue higher. XHB right at that resistance level. right at that resistance spot, and this is where I think we're going to move on higher. We do have a bullish engulfing here and a little bloody nose today. So that is a continuation pattern to the upside. So that looks fantastic. We've got our double bottom. A lot of the times it pauses right in this general spot, either right below it or right above it, just like it did over here. And I think once we break through it, home builders are going to go higher. Looking at Moo is also looking quite good at this time. It looks like one big consolidation kind of pattern. Now, is this going to break higher or is it going to break lower? We'll find out here what the overall markets do. I think VanEck agribusiness ETF is just going to do what the overall markets do. If it breaks higher, this will break higher with it. Copper moving higher. Quite surprised that it actually ended up today. We were moving all over the place. But again, we've had a pretty big run here. This entire run here has been pretty big. A lot of the times it consolidates, and we're coming up to a little bit of resistance over here. But it's still looking good. I'm a bull. Lumber down 0.44%. And that it has broken out of its falling wedge to the upside. I do think that will continue higher and grind its way higher. Looking at iron ore, I'm going to shift to the line so you guys can see it. Iron ore hasn't updated yet. But I think iron ore looks good. It's putting in that falling wedge. Nickel's down a little bit today. Again, I said this is kind of where it's going to go, and then maybe do some sort of retest and then a move higher. That is my drawing here. And I think it's going to go down to some point, do a retest, and then move on up. There's your double bottom there. Bottom right here. And then it comes on up, it breaks up. We went into a ascending wedge, broke to the downside, and we're going to come somewhere like I've drawn it. I just left that drawing there. Aluminum. Aluminum is ultra bull mode. If we can break on here, we are moving higher. This looks fantastic for aluminum. I do think aluminum is going to move higher. This is one of my stronger conviction plays over the next couple of years. Baltic Dry Index, flat. We're in this falling wedge, and maybe we're just completing this wedge. Maybe this could be a false breakout. We come back down into it for a little bit longer. But I do think a falling wedge generally breaks to the upside, and Baltic Dry Index generally follows whatever oil does. And oil's breaking to the upside as well, so I think Baltic Dry Index will break to the upside. Looking at coal, Newcastle coal futures, basically just flat today. We're right on this resistance line. We got to break through it. It's been a struggle to get through this thing. We had a false little breakout, came on down. Now, you could say that maybe this is kind of like a shoulder developing, where this thing heads lower. That is a possibility. So keep that in mind. And then we've got Ethereum. It is breaking to the upside. Actually looks quite solid from a short-term perspective. And Bitcoin's broken to the upside as well. You could see that massive breakout. It is consolidating right now, kind of a little bit, only up 0.5%, but it's looking a lot better than what it was. And we were expecting this potential breakout here on the channel. So maybe we've got some liquidity coming in. So that's what I've got for today, guys. Oil's looking good. It's breaking to the upside. Natural gas has a little bit of time of consolidating. The precious metals still look good, especially gold looks very strong. I think we're going to continue higher. Yeah, we could pull back maybe a little bit sideways action for another day, but it still looks very strong to me. And there's a lot of opportunity out there right now. A lot of opportunity in energy service companies and some of these other base metals and stuff like that. If you're looking and you can find the patterns, some of these companies are going to be, we'll call it inflecting from losses to earnings, positive earnings. So negative losses or negative earnings to positive earnings. Those inflection points generally offer the greatest returns because they go from losing money to making money. And that is when everything inflects, and you usually get, in commodity companies, a very large move. That's where you make hundreds of percent gains, maybe even 10, 20 times your money. And we've experienced that on the website. In some of our energy service companies, we're up 50% all the way up to 500% in some of our companies, and some are even greater in a 6-month time frame. Now, we're not going to get those returns all the time. These windows occur when things are really depressed. So that's when you have to be looking. You have to be looking at these companies when they're depressed. When people are not looking at it, and when things are inflecting from a negative earnings to a positive earnings. And that's when these things really take off. So we are taking advantage of that on the website. If you haven't missed anything, I've got all the videos uploaded. You can see our platinum question and answer discussions. I post a lot of charts as well, of previous charts. You can see it. I even post some information on specific individual companies that are in oil and natural gas, energy service companies, and other companies along that I talk about in the midweek updates and all that stuff. So lots of things going on over there. Love to have you in the community. Join if you're interested. Even if you want to try it out for a month, that's fine too. And if you guys like the content, give me a thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel here if you guys like these daily updates. And we'll catch you next time. This is Finding Value.